Self-gaslighting. Well, yeah, it is. It is a conditioned behavior where we are unable to acknowledge our feelings. We question them, and most of the time we don't even notice. It just comes so naturally. And because of that, we never really trust ourselves, because our feelings and intuitions are meant to be telling us what we are experiencing. But because of this, we keep raising questions and making not right decisions because of that.
Yeah, it's true. It's like also there is positive, so to say, and negative gaslighting. Like the positive one is when you are trying to hype yourself up or something, and you try to convince yourself that actually you are better at that skill which you are trying to face, and you're just pumping yourself up. I can do it because I'm good at this, because I know it. Let's go, let's do it. It's going to succeed, whatever the outcome is. So this is the positive type which people use, but the negative one is, I think, more common. It's
I
when
never thought about that, actually, that we could call that as self-gaslighting.
right?
Yeah, yeah. But I
But
believe when you do it consciously, then it may be like self-motivation.
true, can be called a self-motivation.
But then when people are not aware and they still do it, and they're not aware of their own skill sets, and they're still telling it to themselves and to everyone else, then I guess I could call that. Yeah. That's
Because it also
interesting.
it's not telling you the truth actually
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
person, positive or negative.
Yeah.
It depends on the setting, I suppose, also.
Yeah. But then it's like, is it self-gaslighting when you do it in a positive way is about you? Because in my experience, self-gaslighting is not entirely, like, I don't experience it as it's about me. I'm kind of lying about external situations that I'm experiencing, but I don't notice, or I didn't notice what's happening with me. I guess that's the same thing. Yes, with the positive now I can see the connection there. Yes, I got your point.
I just
Interesting.
wanted to include something
Yeah.
positive about it too, because most of the time we use it either in a negative way or either just to hush our intuition or what we truly feel about a certain situation or a person.
Yeah.
Because that's usually what we do.
Yeah. But then when we are not aware of it in the long term, it's not that positive, because we are just feeding ourselves information that is not true and it's not helping us growing.
Yes, it also depends in what kind of scenario, because most of the
Yeah.
time, I don't know about you, but with me it's happening when I'm in a romantic relationship and I really try to fantasize how the other person is, or I try to put them in a positive light.
Yeah.
And if they are doing something wrong or they do something which I don't like, in the beginning, I try to kind of mute the feelings I have about these situations. And I'm telling myself that, yeah, actually, I'm not sure he meant that way and I shouldn't act out on it just yet, because who knows, maybe it's just a misunderstanding, etc., etc. And this is, I think, most of the time when it comes in.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. And that's an interesting, why do we do that at the first place? My question is why do we feel like, because with self-gaslighting, we say that we're just giving a chance to someone. But then why do we do that?
Or we just give them the benefit of the doubt, like, okay, we have past experience with, we don't want to project it on them, so we wait a little bit. Maybe it's just an occasion and it's not going to happen anymore. And at the end, we fall too deep into the rabbit hole, and when we notice it's too late, then we already are in trouble. And we did the
Yeah.
self-gaslighting a little bit too much.
Yeah. I do believe that this can be unlearned. And once you are really aware of it and you are aware how relationship dynamics should work, how your boundaries should work, how your standards should be laid out towards other people and yourself, then we are more able to recognize when we suddenly self-gaslight ourselves. It just recently happened to myself. That's why I'm saying this so confidently from my own experience. And yes, I did self-gaslight myself like automatically. And then hold on a second. No, this is not what I've been studying. This feels wrong. This feels weird. Like I should really listen to my body. And just because everyone else says something, and I'm so used to saying that to myself, I should not anymore listen to that. And I should just stick to whatever idea I had in my mind and listen to it. And then it always proves itself right. So that just shows me that we have to listen to ourselves.
Yeah, actually, I remember the story when you mentioned that you were quite sure about a certain person. You had the feeling about somebody, and then you discussed it with other people. And it was a group setting where they basically just went against you, and everybody kind of told you that this is not really how you're thinking it, and you shouldn't be so strict about the situation. And it also applies to gaslighting and then self-gaslighting, because if a lot of people tell you that something is right,
Yeah.
and you tend to believe it, even though you feel that it's not.
Yeah. 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 And it is a very lonely feeling. And that's why people usually who are not really so sure of themselves, we don't want to be alone. So we will just change our own minds, even though it feels so wrong. And this is why it's such a great thing to finally get to know yourself at whatever age we are. Just be clear on that, and anyone can say anything, and you're just standing your ground. You can be still open, but our guts, it's just gonna tell us. I also have to add that I do believe these people did not like say it against me. It's just their belief, their core belief, the same way I used to believe in these ideologies and ways of living. And I would probably give the same advice to other people. Oh, just be more patient. Oh, maybe they didn't mean it. But so I totally understand
Yeah.
there is no negative feelings around that. But yeah, I do love these kind of lessons from life. They come back and show me where I still have to practice and get stronger.
Yeah, exactly. And what you're saying again is also good, because you say that it's not coming from a bad place most of the time from people. But just because it's not coming from a bad place doesn't mean that if you follow it, it's not going to be leading you to something bad at the end. So that's where it comes in, that you really need to know yourself. You really need to take the time to get to know what you like, what you dislike, and just follow that based on how you feel about certain situations,
Yes, exactly.
because it's there for a reason at the end.
Yes. And it's somewhere sad that we didn't get to use it for so many years. But then another part, it's quite fascinating that we finally find this part of ourselves or again, because I'm sure when we were very little, our like senses were working very well. And I could say that I don't want to hug that man, or I don't want to kiss, or I don't want to play with that someone. And then oh, but they're nice. And we just learned
Yeah,
that.
because for some part in our lives, we are too young to be able to understand everything what's going on around us, and we rely a lot on our parents or our caregivers, actually. After also some early friendships, which either last or most of the times not. And we don't really have that sense of self yet. We just want to fit in so badly that just we follow a crowd, and we just also follow their agenda.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
whoever is the most charismatic actually has the say in everything. I don't know if you had this situation or you noticed it also in your life, but there was always one charismatic group leader who was just dictating
Yes,
the
exactly.
norm.
Yeah, yeah. The louder people usually, if we could say that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. But yes, it's like a little child is so dependent on their surrounding adult belongings, their parents or grandparents, whoever they are with, even teachers, because like back then when we were still amongst wild animals, it was very important that you had to listen to the elder and you would not question. If you questioned, you were eaten by a lion or something. So
Yeah, and it stick with us still today, even
yeah.
though we don't really have to be. I mean, we can be glad that in our life, at least, we don't have to be afraid of such things anymore
Yeah.
because we live
There's
in a
still
modern world.
plenty. There's still
But
plenty. Yeah.
but it's still there. It's still stuck there.
Yeah. Plus, if we look at it as children, it's not really important. Like survival is the first to have food, shelter, someone loving at some level that we think is loving, and yeah, not die. That's like literally we are running on our instincts. Probably we are not thinking, oh, is it gonna benefit me in the future?
Yeah, exactly. And most of us don't have or didn't have caregivers who actually could help us develop early on because they were just also doing what they thought was best
Yeah.
and they gave the knowledge what they had
Yes,
the
exactly.
the best way they could. I
Yeah.
cannot blame them for that. That's all they could do. And it also differs person per person. So if you start your self-discovery journey later on in life, it doesn't really mean you are late from anything.
No, well, in the end, we can only live one life. Well, that's what I believe in. There are other beliefs on this planet, in this world, in this universe. But until I can't say that I lived as another person, I can't say that. If I will go to another person's body in my next life, I will make sure I will let everyone. Maybe I'm a brand new soul, or I don't know. But yeah, it's right now. I feel like I have one life. So what's the point of feeling regretful about whatever decisions and experiences I have in life? Regretting, feeling sorrowful is not going to help me grow. And I just need to appreciate whatever I'm going through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You are where you need to be, as you say always.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's how you actually have to look at it, because otherwise you become bitter and the negative emotions take over you.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
I think I had 3 different type of examples where I remember that I really gaslit myself because I liked a certain person. And actually, thanks to my parents, I was raised in a way that I'm just acceptant towards other people, no matter if they are very different from me, has very different opinions from me. Actually, I use that most of the time as a training ground because I like to see how we differ from one another. It's a very interesting topic for me. But it's also got me into a lot of toxic friendship and relationships in the past, because even though I noticed the early red flags in the beginning and my intuition told me that this something is not correct here, how they phrase those sentences, how they talk to you, how they talk about others, something is off. I always convince myself, but yeah, but everybody is different, so let's just give them a shot. Let's just see where it goes, and just accept them because they have good qualities too. So focus on the good qualities. And at the end, you focus so much on the good qualities, even though it's like 10% of the personality of a certain individual, that you kind of gaslight yourself about the 90%, which is not really working for you. Yes. So I had 3 situations. I had more, but what I just want to bring as an example. The first one is my most recent relationship, which ended, that I really just wanted to accept his different way of living, like that he needs a lot of extra space and extra time away from me, even though we are in a relationship, because probably he was conditioned like that, and it doesn't mean that he doesn't love me. It just means that I need to give him that space so he feels comfortable with me. That's what I gaslit myself into, even though My intuition told me that something is off. It's not okay how he creates space between us all the time. It's not okay that I cannot discuss anything with him because he distances himself. And at the end, I came to the conclusion that, okay, is that kind of person, but it's not my person because he just brings out the worst qualities in me. And we cannot really have the communication what I require and the time what I require from a relationship to be fulfilled in it. So at the end, that was the reasons what it had to end. Then I had a friendship with a male individual who from the very beginning was always talking down on women.
Mhm.
But when I was younger, for some reason, I just let this pass because I thought that, yeah, he might be talking about women this way, but he likes me and he talks to me nicely, so probably an exception. I think that's one thing which all of us fall trap into one time at least in our lives, that we think from the ego that we are the exception.
Mm.
No, we are not. So at the end, I realized that he just overall despised women, and this is a deep rooted issue with him. And of course, it came out in a way how he communicated me at the end as well. And people can pretend for months and even
1 second.
sometimes. Now 1 degree. Now we know. Now we know how
Sorry.
cold it is there.
I will turn that off for the future.
No, that's
Yes.
one point we have
Yeah.
to remember.
Yeah. Alarms and so on. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry. So that was again something where I felt that how he speaks is off, how he talks about other people is off for me, and it's not really something what I can identify with. But I let it slide, and eventually it just proved itself right.
Yeah.
And the third one was a female friendship where there were a lot of good things in the beginning. You wouldn't think, but there is love bombing between females or between males in the beginning of a friendship as well.
Uh-huh.
And I was so focused on love bombing in relationships, romantic ones, that I didn't really think about this. But yeah, when things go too fast in a friendship, actually, that's also something to be a little bit aware of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we discussed our traumas and everything seemed so nice until she started to be a passive aggressive all the time, pushing her opinions on me, like really, really pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was asking her what's the reason why it's so important for her, of course she denied that it's not that important. She actually always said the opposite thing what she was doing. And I was like, maybe she's not conscious about it. It's fine. It's part of her personality. Maybe I should rephrase how I'm communicating with her. Maybe that's the reason that she has a problem all the time with me. Eventually, she always found a problem because she wanted. And it turned out that it's been a repeated circle for her. So I'm not the first and probably not the last. And how about you?
Yeah. Well, first, before I move on to mine, I just want to reflect because I can relate to all of these, literally. Like I had to learn over the years that however people talk about other people, however they treat them, they're going to treat you as well the same way. We are, as you mentioned, we would love to be the exception, but no. And then actually looking at myself, the way I'm treating people, the way I'm approaching people, I'm doing this all the time the same. So there is nothing like sometimes when I really, really like someone, I give them more attention, definitely, but I do not completely behave differently than who I am. So that was a huge lesson for me. And no, people do not change just because we do things differently. They're not this drastically. They have to be very self-aware for that to realize that we are adjusting our behavior in order to make it work with them, but they would also need to do the same work. Anyway, this is another whole topic. Every little bit we could talk about it for so long. And Yeah, also with female friendships, I also had an experience like that. And I didn't understand what's happening because I actually were lacking female friends. I had one, but we were very much alike. And I used to be more cold. I was more towards another avoidant side as a human being, a toucher. And we kind of matched. It was okay, but I never had that kind of, oh, let's stay up all night and meeting so much and chatting so much about life and boys and things like that. And I enjoyed it for a while, of course, like any love bombing, but it felt weird. Like I felt like this person loves me so much and I didn't understand why because we barely knew literally each other. We kind of knew for longer time, but not really, really know each other, like an acquaintance. And it felt weird. And I didn't listen to it. I didn't. I was like, oh, yes, this person's just so nice and she just wants all the best. And then eventually I felt trapped, but I also didn't realize that. I felt like I don't have choices. I felt like nothing I ever do is good enough, but not in a negative way. It was very weird experience. Like I was the one who needed to be rescued. And then I was given the help that was never requested. And then whenever I tried to like say that I'm okay, I don't need this help, I would again self-gaslight myself into, but then she just means good and I should just listen and try and everything. And it, again, there my guts were telling me not to. And then eventually, yeah, I would have very little signs and cues where I could feel and tell that something is really off here. And I don't believe that a friendship should make me feel so anxious and nervous and confused. And eventually it got much clearer. And then 2 years later, since I've learned so much more about myself, now I understand what was happening, which we can dive into later. Again, much more detailed. And then, yeah, also with men, with job opportunities, with everything, literally, it's all connected back to us not knowing ourselves. And then we would like to have something, we would like to experience something. And in order to get that, what we are looking for, before even that person giving us the proof that they are going to like meet our needs the way we deserve that and the way we need it, we give them all the benefit of the doubt. We give them all the trust because we just like to feel that experience. We like this person, even though we don't even know that person yet. And then whenever they show signs that they're not actually that person we imagined or wanted to have or was hoping for, it's all against.
Pretended to be.
Could be, yes, because like in the love bombing phase, they're kind of pretending to be someone who they are not
Yeah.
in a normal life. It's their potential. I do believe in that. But on another, like on their average life, they are unable to be that person, and or they actually have unspoken needs and boundaries that they start to throw back at you and then question why you are not meeting those and why you are not being the person. And I may have accidentally love bombed other people as well, because this is the way we grew up. You know, you get excited and then you just put a lot more into the situation than we should actually. And people kind of like, we build a picture about the other person based on that short amount of time. And then we believe that we're going to be forever best friends is the big one. And we're going to do all those traveling plans and whatever. And then actually now I know that every relationship needs a lot much slower pace where we can see how everyone shows up on an everyday level, not just in the beginning. If we can trust them, they're gonna meet our needs and our needs, which I didn't know about that. We have to take into consideration that it's okay that that other person is the way they are. We just need to identify that they are unable to meet those needs in a relationship and able to move on. But this was not a thing for me before.
But don't forget that because they don't show in the beginning who they really are, and they kind of
Show what you want.
show what they think you want to see, or what based on their experience people want to see. You cannot actually determine for a while if that person is for you. If
Yes.
somebody comes to your life and tells you all the right things, like for example, I'm a loyal type, I never cheated in a relationship, ta 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 ta, why wouldn't you believe it? Why would somebody lie, right? I mean, I wouldn't lie. So I just expect another person also not anymore, but
Mhm.
but before, to just be honest about themselves. Because if you are honest, you also give the other person a chance to decide if they want you in their lives or not. But if you're playing a role, then you don't give them this chance. You lie to them. And
Yeah.
at the end, you have the responsibility why you hurt them, because you were not that person.
Yeah. Yes. But unfortunately, the same way as for us, it's so natural to not lie and be honest and just give ourselves. For a lot of people, because of other conditioning and the way they grew up, the way they, like, everyone was treating them, even their own parents and everyone, this is their normal, is that for a while everything is happy and then suddenly everyone withdraws, and or they just never ever take them into consideration, and it hurts and it's horrible, and you kind of feel it, they do it on purpose, and some of them, they actually are aware at a certain level, I do believe. And I don't want to go into narcissistic behavior because that's another level, but for example, avoidance, they very often just truly crave a connection, but they are just not able to maintain it. And in the beginning, why they are not deeply attached to the other person, they just they just enjoy it, and then once they start to, and then they also get back to their everyday life, they get overwhelmed, or whatever reasons they are not showing up for you, it actually doesn't matter, because in the end they don't. And whatever reasons, they just don't definitely do it in a malicious way and on purpose. And they also cannot really control it because they haven't dived deep into healing those parts that triggers them. And it's just their normal. That's just their normal way of handling. And they might not be even aware that it's bad. They don't understand why you want so much time with them. Like, fine, I used to be actually with certain type of people, and now I've learned about this. I was like that, like, I'm okay in this, like, I'm not that kind of avoidant that heavily, but with certain type of people I would be like, I'm perfectly fine in this dynamic, and then I wouldn't understand. But now I understand that other people crave, or actually, it's not even healthy the way I was maintaining that relationship. So, and they don't, because that's their normal. Like, fish, they swim their entire life in the water and they don't even realize it's there, or that they depend on that, or it could be another type of water.
Yeah, which actually, what you said, it's getting even more interesting, because actually both of us have and had an avoidance side too. So we know how it is. We also did certain things, so we understand why is it happening. It's just after a while you start to have the realization that you really would like now somebody to stay and somebody consistent in your life. And for that, you have to work on yourself. First of all, you have to look back and see how you perceived yourself in the past, and yes, what reality was, what kind of mistakes you made.
Yeah.
And you do that inner work. And after you did the inner work, everybody else who doesn't do it just becomes annoying. Because why the fuck you don't do it? Even though maybe in 10 years they will do it, but we're not gonna see it. So whatever. Why don't you do it now?
Yeah.
So
But
that's, yeah.
no, you finish. You finish.
No, it's just that's the other side of the coin, actually, that we know what we're talking about, because
Yeah.
it's not like we haven't been on that
Yeah.
side.
I can imagine it a lot better because I have experienced, but not in that deep way where I was so triggered that I had to literally withdraw myself from someone I loved, which to me is still mind-blogging because my anxious side wants to be with that person. Like I crave that comfort. If I feel bad, I would like to discuss that. I would like to solve that with that person and not on my own. But I do remember in my teenage years and before that, I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know how to process my feelings. I think I wasn't really fully aware of my feelings up until quite recent time. And because of that, like you don't know yourself, you can't even like process the whole thing in a healthy way. So you just do it the way you learned it. And I used to do it on my own because that's what I was conditioned and taught to do. And it wasn't it wasn't healthy processing, actually. It was just until I felt okay, like I would play games or listen to music or whatever, but it wasn't a healthy grief or processing, talking about it. And to be fair, it's very hard to do it on your own because even though I have changed so much over the 10, 15 years of my life in the like past ones, I was lacking all the tools. And you raised these questions, and I did recognize patterns, I did recognize issues, but I had no clue how to fix it, how to change it. And until luckily, thankfully, I came across on social media, on YouTube, to online materials and schools and coaches that I will probably link into this video as well, so everyone can have a look if it will help you. But they just explained it. They gave me the tools that I never had, or I had broken tools, and then they gave me a brand new one that was actually working, and also how to use it, and it's also, you need to practice it because you just sit down, you watch a video, like you are not definitely ready to receive it. And I was watching so much content, I was reading, and I didn't understand. For example, I read so many books about boundaries, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, how do you set boundaries? What is that? How? What? And then you just start to experiment, you start to practice it, and it's very clumsy, it's very messy, it feels aggressive, and then you just start to learn it. But without other people's help and you being ready is very hard or almost impossible.
Yes, that's one thing. And the other is, no matter how much you read, until you are able to put it into practice, you don't really know if you can apply it on yourself. I noticed on myself that I've been consuming books about psychology. I don't even know since when. I was so young, and I always just wanted to fix myself somehow, and I was just researching what's wrong with me. At the end, it turned out nothing, or at least nothing what other people don't experience. And I just wanted to know the root sources, even though I did all that research. When I came to life situation when my emotions were really strong, I could not always manage. And I was still sometimes behaving like a child because that's what came in front of all the logical decisions, because my emotions were so strong. So that's something that you need to listen to what you feel, but you have to also know how to express it.
Yeah.
Because you can be really angry, you can be outraged, but you should never show it that way. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not normal to throw a TV through the living room, just because you are angry. You try to find tools to calm yourself, and even if you don't feel like talking at that moment because you can't, just give yourself time and ask time from the other person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing is I do believe that majority of people has no idea about how a healthy relationship should look, has
No.
no idea about how to communicate. I just experienced this at workplace, between friends, with family. People don't know how to say what's on their mind because they can't even tell what's on their mind. They themselves don't like. I remember times and days back in my older years when I was not a good conversation partner at all. I remember my ex was kind of nagging about it, and I really appreciate that he did that because it kind of motivated me eventually to start to use my brain, because a lot of people, they just live their lives and they don't self-reflect in that level. They don't start to think about things. They think about certain things, yes, but not like books or theories or how the world works, how people work, the way they work, and how anything works on this world. And it's very interesting actually. And people just unable to express it and to learn the language. If no one ever taught this to you, it's so hard to say those right words that is not like a swear word, which you are so used to just spit it out instead of, okay, now I have to calm myself. And then I have this problem. I would like to talk with you about this. Would you be willing to blah, 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 and so on? So all of these practicing, and somewhere I'm grateful for technology in one way because it allowed me, I had quite a lot of relationships that happened over the chat, which I wouldn't call a relationship anymore, but it
But
allowed
at the
me to,
time,
yes, yes, but it allowed me the time and space to rephrase again and again the message, because my people pleasing side did not want to chase that person away. And I somewhere knew that the way I felt inside it was the right thing actually at the time, because I was reacting to something. So again, it was self-gaslighting. But for my imagined situation, it wasn't the right thing, but it was actually the right thing, if you get what I mean.
yes.
And then I also really wanted to, after my longest relationship that I felt like was my fault ending and not working, which half of it was mine. Yes, because I'm going to take accountability for that.
It's
But
always
then,
half. I mean, most of the time, let's
yes,
say.
we will dive into that as well eventually. I do believe we choose people for a reason. So that is our half part. So
Yeah. If
we
we
chose them. That's it.
yeah, yeah, we choose them for a reason indeed.
Yeah.
If we always end up at some point with emotionally unavailable people, we have to ask ourselves the questions, am I
Yeah.
available?
Yeah. That was
Bec-
a shocker to me.
yeah, because if I was, why would I chase someone who also isn't? Like,
Yeah.
wouldn't I just go after someone who is seeming secured and they know what they want and they communicate what they want, right?
Mm. Yeah.
But I don't, so probably there is something to look in the mirror at. And
Yeah.
that's the hard reality to
Yeah.
understand, that you always have a perception of yourself because you are actually the only person you have to be with 24/7. No matter what, you cannot get rid of yourself. I mean, you can, but let's not go there. And you need to survive life somehow. So even if you did wrong, you have to accept that it happened and you have to be at peace with it.
Mm.
Now, how do we get into peace with it? One thing is self-gaslight. We convince ourselves that we were in the right and everybody else is wrong, because we know our inner work. We know what we were thinking or what we wanted to say. The other person doesn't know because they are not mind readers, but that doesn't matter. But we know. So that somehow gives us the upper hand, for us at least. And that's one way. The other way is that you realize that you're not perfect at all. You make mistakes. You are perceived to other people in a certain way. And it can differ person per person, because with some people you are more compatible, with some people you are not. And if you are not, sometimes the ugly side of you can also come out. And then a person who is seeing that ugly side will think something else about you. Or
Yeah.
they have insecurities and they are projected it on you. You have insecurities, you project it on them, etc., etc. That's how it actually works.
Yeah. I do believe that this works until the point you actually learn how to self-regulate yourself, how to recognize that, oh, yes, okay, this upset me, but this is not actually about me. And I have to study this person and this dynamic, whether this is a one-time thing, and it usually isn't. But I do believe we do still have to try and see our chances, communicate that, hey, this is what I experienced. What is going on actually? And then can we work on it? And then also their reaction to that can tell you so much, like to know all these standards, how a healthy dynamic relationship should look like is such a life changer to me, at least because I did not know that. I had such distorted, unhealthy picture in front of me, what I should be expecting or what it should be kind of. And then I would do everything in my power to try to make that happen. And it didn't work out because I didn't realize I was chasing an unhealthy dynamic that was not actually like gonna work anyway. So and because I was just so conditioned and told my entire life that you just gotta be patient and none of my needs actually matter, unfortunately, and I have to be kind and do everything in my power to show this person how great I am, and then they're gonna accept me anyway. So I do believe that once we know how what our standards are, how a healthy relationship should look like, once we encounter people like these now, after we had our experiences, it will not feel so personal anymore because we can recognize that, oh, this is not about me. Yes,
Yes.
I do. I did like certain aspects about this person, but then this is not what I'm looking for. So, and if it feels bad, it will always feel bad, but it's not such a life-threatening thing that you want to just grasp this person because you want them to be someone or something that they are not. And they're actually clearly
Yeah.
showing it to you.
Yeah, because when you do this, actually, that's all about you. You want to prove to yourself that you are worthy of their attention, of their love, because
Yeah.
I am. Just see who I am, please.
Yeah.
Instead of just accepting that maybe they are just not the right people for you, and that's okay. Because
Yeah.
with the right people, you can communicate. With the right people,
Yes.
you're going to have disagreements for sure, but there is healthy communication there, and they will understand your point. They will understand that you're not coming from a negative side and you don't want anything bad for them. You're just communicating your feelings, which is different from theirs. But everything can be understood if two people want to understand it.
Yes. Yeah.
And if somebody doesn't, or somebody pulls back or disappears, it's nothing about you. And that's the hard thing to understand when you're coming from families where you had to earn care and love. It was not
Yeah.
given to you just because.
Yes, exactly. And exactly. The so-called unconditional love that was actually never unconditional. And the fact that you never knew who you truly are, because if you knew who you truly are, you wouldn't be trying to convince other people to give you the validation that you matter, you are something worthy of their attention, even though they haven't even proved that they are worthy of your attention and love
You're right.
at the
That's
first place.
how it should be. I mean, that's how we should
Yeah.
approach relationships, friendships, anything in the first place. Do I feel good about this person? Are
Mm-hmm.
they any good to me? Not the other way around. We don't need to
Yeah.
save anybody. We are not
Yeah.
homeless shelters for puppies, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, if
Yeah.
you were thought that you have to behave right, you have to behave a certain way, and daddy or mommy will love you, then it is a little bit hard to understand and get to the point where you realize that no, that's a bullshit.
Yeah. 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 That's the tough part. Also lacking of self-confidence and self-love, which I didn't realize I was lacking self-love so heavy. Self-confidence, I was aware very much, but then every time I would meet someone, it was a magic, a miracle. This person, oh my God, they are so amazing and they care about me. They want to meet me. Oh my God, this is so unique. And the lack of belief that the things that you find normal and you would like to have, like basic communication, being considered, being included in the person's life, making plans together, certain type like timing of chatting or anything that feels normal to you, that feels good, because also we can fall onto the other side of the spectrum where we are seeking for this for another type of validation, but this is the not. Let's say that we're talking about the healthy parts, and it's just it made it so much more shiny and amazing, because oh my God, they do this. They did send me a message, I miss you, even though they haven't spoken to you prior to that. And if
Yes.
you do love yourself, you just know what you need at that point, and you will not allow anyone to treat you less than what you deserve, because you know somewhere one day you're gonna find a person who will naturally, most of the things will do the same way you would like to, and those that don't, they will not gaslight you, they will not get upset why you are mentioning it. They will be like, oh okay, yes, I will take that into consideration, and then also actions has to follow that. But still, again, reaction, what they how they show up and so on, it just, we have to believe in that. And from the beginning, lacking of our self-belief, self-love makes us do things, try to feel that love through other people, which is never gonna
And
happen.
no, I mean, it happens and then it doesn't fulfill us.
No.
It
Yeah.
actually, it's not what we wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to give us what we wanted, and we're gonna always feel bad at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Still the emptiness is gonna be there. It's like eating sugar only
Yeah,
for
and we will
food.
build resentment towards the other person because they cannot give, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Even though every decision is in your hand,
Yeah.
who you
The
want to
part.
spend time with. Yeah,
You.
no, it's just who you want to spend time with, who you want to give your energy to. It's all you decide
Yeah.
based on how you feel about somebody.
Yeah. But we also have to arrive to this point to realize this. If this wasn't natural from the beginning in our lives, because to me this wasn't, I kind of what you also mentioned is, which could be a very good thing to look at people, that the people come as they are and they can't change, or they're like, we shouldn't be like questioning things because this is XYZ. They behave the way because they are XYZ, and that's it. There is nothing further to that. But I do understand this part, because we shouldn't also look at people that they're gonna change. That's the mistake I was always making, because I was hoping that they're gonna change. And if I do this and that for them, they're gonna see and behave differently. But this all comes from our childhoods, that we were just stuck with certain type of behaviors where you could not change the other person. And you were just probably forever hoping that maybe one day it will change, even if not consciously. And it's stuck so deeply that you just can't let it go until you wake up one day, because it's so painful that damn brick wall doesn't start to move. Why it's not moving?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then, oh, that's why, because it's not it's not alive. Like it's a different kind of things
Uh,
than what I was expecting, you know. Yeah,
yes.
it's hard realization, but those who recognize this, I think that's amazing. It's life changing.
Yeah, and the quality of the relationships will change also for the
Yeah,
better.
yeah. So many people feel so stuck and unhappy in their lives because they're surrounded by family members and people who treat them so badly. They can't even imagine that it could be different. Like sometimes I have like questions, try and probe them, you know, what if, you know, this person wasn't in your life or you didn't talk to? Oh no, but it's my whoever, you know, and then I just feel their anxiety, their frustration and everything. And I know these are all difficult decisions, and they have to arrive to that point to see whether they want to make that or not. But the freedom of, and I'm not saying we should be like discarding everyone just because they say differently things, or
No, absolutely
yeah,
not.
it's just to be able to identify what is truly really good for us, and being able to let it go, even if it's painful for the other person and for you as well. Because in the end, we are here again once in our lifetime. And I personally don't wish to waste my energy anymore on convincing other people who will not change and do the inner work,
Yeah,
that
and
the way they treat me is not okay.
yeah, it's not your job. Unfortunately, it's hard to understand for us, but it's not our job to make people see what they are doing is wrong or how they
Yeah.
treat you is wrong and they hurt you, because who knows what kind of background they are coming from? Who knows actually what
Yeah.
they experienced through their childhood, which is not an excuse, but it's an excuse enough for you to leave if you see that it's not possible to make it work with them,
Yeah.
because it means their lesson lies somewhere else, or you were part of their lesson. And if you let them go, maybe you do them best.
Yeah.
Maybe that way they will think in 1 or 2 years or never. But at least they are not making your life miserable anymore.
Yeah. 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 And it's such a relief, actually. It feels good. It felt weird in the beginning, but it gets better and better. Freedom.
It's just practice.
Yeah, yeah.
You,
So interesting how complete lack of self-awareness in that sense, because I do believe that I I had in the past some years some kind of self-awareness, but I wasn't aware of my feelings and emotions apart from when I was like confused or happy, very happy because someone sent me a message or things like that.
classic.
But yeah, I couldn't understand so many things in span of a few months because of the experience you lived through, what you were explaining with the books and the materials. I do believe that we have, like, humans don't really truly learn these kind of things from words unless you had the experience where you can connect those words with your feelings and what you experienced, and it just explains the whole thing. But it's we didn't really, like, in my understanding and belief, we didn't use verbal communication as primary communication in the very, very beginning of human times. So it kind of makes sense to me that we wouldn't understand these kind of feelings, because instincts were first, feelings were first, hormones and everything. Those were still telling us things that was really truly important, like weather changes or danger in the bushes or anything. And you didn't start to say, be careful with the bush, because by that time you were dead. So that's why I do believe we have to be bitten first to be able to say, oh yes, okay, then now we are using it a lot more, but it's still not truly connected. Maybe because also we haven't been using it since our childhood properly. So
And this kind of journey of self-awareness or self-discovery, I think, is still a new topic for most, for
yeah.
most. So, of course, if you don't have the sources to learn from, you can have certain things. I was also aware of my wrongdoings or my right doings, but I couldn't really put them into words, or I couldn't really phrase what it was until I had the
Mm,
source
yeah.
to identify it with. So it's understandable that most people don't take the time because they are busy with everyday life. They go to work, they go home, they are with their kids, they are with their pets, they are with their significant other, or they distract themselves with television or other kind of activities, and they don't really think about it so deeply. I think only those people do who really had enough of certain situations what
Yeah.
they encountered in their life and they want a solution.
Yeah. 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 That's what I also believe. The other day I was thinking maybe that's not what we need to be really, really, truly hurt in order to learn. But I can't say because my experience was I had to be really slapped so hard and pushed down into the depths of despair. that that was the point where I'm like, surely I do deserve better than that. And I do want to know how to achieve that, how to get there, how I can be different. Because interestingly, it was always a drive for me. It was a belief that I'm the wrong. I'm the one who's been doing things wrong. I'm the one who chose the wrong person. I'm the one who gave too many chances. I'm the one who was too anxious. I did things wrong and so on, even though for a while I was not admitting that when I was still a lot more in my avoidant phase and I wasn't even aware of what I was truly doing actually. Just eventually when I had the time to reflect properly. And now with my most recent knowledge about attachment styles just made sense. And even that took me time because I was trying to reflect back to that period and I just couldn't identify myself. And then one day, oh, okay. So I haven't been anxious my entire life. It's just in a certain time period, it came out and certain type of people bring it out of me and situations. So yeah, it's until you process the whole thing, you talk about it a million times with friends, which by the way, I'm so grateful for all of my friends who would listen to me over 100 times. And ChatGPT lately has been so useful.
Thank you, ChatGPT.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we will be saying our thanks for everyone. And I actually am losing my thought line, I believe. But it's just an amazing journey that you do have to experience. Yes, hurting is I think like through it, I think this is going to be another topic eventually we were planning to talk about is how evolution and like how human change and like what's required for true change. Because I do believe if we are feeling good, why would we change? So I would like to tell people that you don't have to break your heart 100 times in order to change, but I don't truly believe in that.
I think the word is being uncomfortable with
Yeah,
something, having
yeah,
a negative emotion about certain things, and then you will look for a way out in one way or another, of course. Can
yeah.
be through looking for more knowledge, can be through new hobbies, actually anything
Mm.
else, just to the feeling that this is not right and this is not all I want from life.
Yeah. Also, the part you mentioned about the materials and how to like phrase things and how to communicate and learning those things on your own. Like, it's amazing if you manage to do that. But for example, like, I don't know if I haven't found my kind of tutors from online, the coaches and everything, and all the materials that I found, and were explaining it so well, because I found other ones as well, and it just did not make sense. I could not resonate with that. I felt like it's such a surface level explanation. I'm like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't tell me what it is. And then I just kept going and finding something, and finally one person could explain it so well, so deeply on a psychological level and studies and everything. And it just all made sense. And how to phrase, like, there are literal webinars where you can get together, you have an issue, you raise the issue, and everyone helps you how to form the sentence. Because if you never knew that kind of language, you need to learn it. And on my own, it was really impossible. It was hard. Like, I was growing, but I think we do need the teachers in this life.
Of course, everybody does, because
Yeah.
we are not born knowing anything actually. So we need guidance through life. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how about it being the closing words?
Closing words could be, life is a never ending lesson journey.
And if you feel comfortable for a long time about something, just find a way to change.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that's it.
That's a lot to reflect on, I think. So
Yeah, we could go on forever. I could until I lose my voice.
Yeah, it's true. So if anyone can identify with that or experience this or just want to share their stories, it's free to do so.
Feel free to leave any comments, and
Indeed.
eventually we will create our own YouTube page as well, and follow us to the usual things if you're interested in the future topics as well.
Yes, indeed. So thank you everybody for listening.
This was You Are Where You Need to Be, podcast first episode. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, Nikki. Bye.